Hey y'all, and welcome to The Wannabe Author. I'm Taryn, a writer figuring out how to turn my publishing dream into reality, one chaotic step at a time. This is the place where we talk books, writing struggles, mental health, and everything in between. Whether you're a writer, a reader, or just curious about the process, I am so glad you're here. Let's jump in. Hey y'all, and welcome back to The Wannabe Author. For those of you watching, obviously, I'm having a self-care day, so don't mind the green face. Anyway, back on topic. Today's guest is one I've been really looking forward to sharing with you all. This author recently released her debut rom-com about two rival coworkers that become reluctant daters after they're forced to work together on a brand new dating app in hopes of winning a promotion. This author also just announced her second book, which will be released early next year. In this episode, we explore this author's journey to publication. This author was a joy and inspiration to talk to, from the story of her journey to her many, many talents. She is an incredible individual, and I know you will fall in love with her just as much as I did. It is my absolute honor to introduce you all to Annabelle Slator. Annabelle, hi, welcome to The Wannabe Author.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. Before we get diving into you, your journey, your books, I love to start out with asking my guests, what are you currently reading?
Oh, okay. So I'm reading two books at the moment. One is very exciting, one's quite embarrassing. So I'm reading Quarter Love Crisis, which is my friend Jasmine Burke's debut novel. We have the same fabulous agent, and so I've been slipped an early copy of that, but it's out I think in a month or a couple of months. So but I'm really enjoying that. It's a workplace rom-com. So obviously in my wheelhouse. I love that. And then my embarrassing one is I just did a deadline on Friday, and so I've been holding Great Big Beautiful Life as my treat. And so I'm embarrassed to say I this is the first Emily Henry book that I have not been reading the day it comes out. And I've been holding it, I've been avoiding spoilers for what, like a month it's been out. So yeah, I feel like I am not I'm not, paying homage to the Queen of Romcoms very well at the moment. So yeah, don't tell anyone, but I'm only just starting it.
I love that. I love that. No, she's fabulous, but you know what? I'm right there with you. I've been really busy, so the poor book has just been hanging out right there waiting for me to get to it. So I'm right there with you.
You have to tell me when you start, because I feel like we'll probably be on the same pace at this point,
We'll
because
do a
I'm
little
such
book club.
a slow reader. Yeah, we'll do that.
Perfect. Okay. All right. I'm so excited to get in on your journey, who you are as an author, your books. I've been following you for a while, and it's been so fun to see just a little bit of your journey. My first question for you is, what brought you to the point where you just tell your origin story of what finally had you sitting down and writing and deciding I'm going to be a published author?
Okay. Well, I think for me, weirdly, I wonder if this is now going to become like a bit of quite a common, like modern author story. Like at the beginning, like at the pandemic, like early 2020, I got put on furlough for from working at a sustainable clothing brand, and they basically I was one of the last employees to still like be not to be working, and I was writing all their social media content and their blog, and I was literally sat there like having a mental breakdown whilst writing blogs about mindfulness and being like 10 ways to not have a mental breakdown during the pandemic while like sobbing on my keyboard working from home, being like, I don't know what the hell's going on with my job. So eventually I was furloughed, and so I was just kind of like trying to figure out what my next move was. And then I kind of remembered that, oh, I did a creative writing degree. That is the whole reason why I ended up working in doing social content and marketing and blog content, because it kind of just went hand in hand. And when I was graduating university, we literally did like I created my first Twitter account in my last year of university. That's how old I am. So in the last year of university, and we were like learning about creative writing for social media. And so I think I was probably one of the first like UK graduates to start thinking, oh, actually, social media is now a viable job. So I kind of just slid into that. I worked just for so many different random startups and usually like female founded businesses, which was really fantastic. And then eventually, yeah, stumbled into working for the dating app Bumble, which was just absolutely nuts. And yeah, so I just sort of got to the point where I was like, right, I've worked for so many insane companies and I've been in so many wild situations with work. And I love writing, but I haven't been able to do it for years because I've always been so busy, like running around London, just trying to, not get sacked from my job, just trying to do a good job. And then eventually it just got where the world was like, just hold on a sec. Why don't we maybe either go to therapy or write a book about this stuff? And you know what? The book was cheaper to write. So that's kind of how we ended up with the launch date.
I love that. I love that. Oh, okay. Now, as you're writing, tell us about kind of paint the picture of what your routine is for it. Are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? Do you have to be in a certain location? Are you ingesting any content? Kind of paint the picture of what it is to sit down and write your books.
Okay, I love this question. I just got an office in my house very recently. We like chopped a our spare bedroom in half and turned like half into another bathroom, and I was like, "Oh my God, I can have an office. This is amazing." It's obviously still got like a tiniest little single bedroom. So I'm usually trying to be in here, but most of the launch date was kind of written like in bed or on a sofa. It was only like my husband was like, now you have a book. We can justify we can justify carving out an entire room in the house, even though it's like literally the tiniest room in the whole house. And so I try and write in here, and I literally have like that's the launch date. That's the layout or the post-it notes there.
Ah,
I need to get those framed because I think I trashed the wall with like sticky tape and things. But yeah, so I've been trying to stay in here as much as I can, if not in bed. And I am very much a outliner, and I cannot imagine. I've seen people you've spoken to who talk about being pantsers, and it boggles my mind how people are able to do it. I'm so impressed. Like they just have the grit to be able to just have the confidence to be like, I'm whatever this is, it's going to be good, it's going to be bad, whatever. I think I'm too much of a control freak for that sort of thing, and I have to outline everything. I literally, as I said, I have the whole book. That's my third book on that on that little tiny whiteboard there because usually like to have the whole thing chapter by chapter, just really working out just as like puzzle pieces. And then I go into the chapters themselves and try and do a beginning, middle, and end, and really treat every chapter itself like a mini story, just try and have a conclusion, to each chapter as much as I can. Yeah, so it sort of seems like by the time I've finished plotting out a book, half of it's already written already, which for me feels good because it feels very daunting every time I'm like, oh, okay, are we writing another book? Then how do I do that again? I've forgotten since last time.
how is it that every time we sit down to write a new book and it's like how did this happen? How did we do it the
I'm
first
like,
time?
who let me in here? This, I don't know how to write a book. I can't believe I have one. And so, yeah, I usually try and keep a copy of the launch date nearby just to kind of remind me of like, oh, okay, you can do it. It is achievable. But yeah, and then in terms of like other things that I'm ingesting, I do try and stick. I know quite a lot of authors say they don't like to read in the genre they're writing in because they think, oh, they might sort of accidentally absorb. But I think that's for me, that's the joy of having something outlined already, which means I can really stay in that headspace. Because I know I'm not going to like accidentally plagiarize something if it's already, or I'm like in safe zone. And so, yeah, I love reading rom-coms while I am writing them really because I love watching them as well. I recently for my second book, Risky Business, I started. Are you on
I
Letterboxd?
think so.
The so I'm just finding it, sorry, hang on. It's
No, you're
called,
good.
I literally have it here. So it's like it's a basically a rom-com um like a rom-com collection of movies. I don't know what they call. I'm British. I don't know what the letterboxing called. They like playlists or something. But when people put their like selection, their curation, and it's like if you like this rom-com, this one is this. Try this older and possibly
Okay.
better. And I've been going through a lot of those. So like I just watched there's Down with Love, and I've been watching like the old version of that, and then like 10 Things I Hate About You and Kiss Me Kate and those kind of things. So it's been like a very eye-opening thing to see like the really old versions of these rom-coms that I love because I feel like a lot of my writing is inspired by, like when Harry Met Sally and those like classic Nora Ephron movies. And so it's really interesting to really go back and see what inspired those movies. So yeah, I've been getting into that a lot. I would highly recommend that.
Love that. Love that. I love that not only is your, what is it, your influence books that you're reading of other authors, but also the movies and just all the content. I love that. Okay, now, oh, I wanted to say congrats on releasing the what is it? The title of your next book. That is so exciting.
Yeah, it was so exciting being able to finally get that out there because that book, weirdly, with the launch date, I had that title from almost I think I was maybe 2 months into writing like that initial, like the first draft of the launch date before I got the name, and it's stuck ever since. I mean, one of my publishers did try and, I won't name names, one of them did try and change it. And thankfully, my agent didn't tell me until the whole thing had been resolved, like 2 weeks later. And she was like, you don't know what I did to keep this name, to keep the name the launch date. So, whereas with Risky Business, it was a completely different situation because I sold the launch date on a two-book deal, and I had the outline for book two. And we knew what that was going to be from the beginning, but it was untitled. So we were trying to come up with names for ages, and then eventually we ended up with Risky Business. And it was a very serendipitous moment where I thought of the name and texted it to my agent, and she said, "You'll never believe this. My assistant just emailed me with this name." And then within a few minutes, my US editor then came back and said, "What about this?" And so it was like all these different roads converging. And we're like, okay, if we've all thought of Risky Business at the same time, then that's surely a sign that we should go for it.
I love that. That's so fun. Okay,
And hope people don't think
now,
it's a Tom Cruise movie. So, I was like, maybe my reader base is like too, because I asked my mum about this as well, and I was like, when I say the word risky business, what do you think? And she's like, was it a movie at some point. And so I was like, right, okay. She's, no offense to her, she's the older end of my readership demographics. I was like, if she doesn't remember exactly where that's from, then I think we're fine.
Yeah, you're good. I think it's perfect. Okay. Getting into your publishing journey, I'd love for you to tell the listeners about your journey to publication and what the most surprising aspect of the journey was for you.
Oh, well, I think for me the most surprising aspect was sort of for me, it was my realizing that I have no patience as a human being. Like that was a huge character flaw that I didn't know I had. And so that was something that I really learned about myself during the whilst querying and then whilst in doing submission and then just like working in the publishing industry. That's something that I really had to do a major shift on mentally, because like I said, I was working in social media and marketing, and I was very used to, especially the company that the book is sort of the experiences I had there, that what the book is inspired by. They were always like, right, what is the hot topic of today? Like I remember when I was working there when I think it was Ariana Grande did like Pete Davidson's got BDE, and we literally had a meeting that day about like, right, how can we make this a marketing moment? Like, are we doing something for social? Can we do a billboard with like big date energy or stuff like that? So from that situation to like, okay, so when is my cover reveal? Is this happening, or is this even like releasing? Is this going in September? No, I think we're gonna push it to October. Then we're gonna do this. So yeah, and it's just very like, I love working in the publishing industry, but it's really a huge mental shift having to be like working remotely with loads of different teams, and then also being on my own timeline when it comes to actually producing the work. But then the moment the work is out, it's like, I who knows when I'm gonna hear back from it, to be honest. So yeah, I think that's probably my number one piece of advice. And in terms of my timeline, kind of along the same lines of that, I was sort of thinking after I wrote the launch date and got it into the state that I thought, I personally am not able to improve this anymore. And so I thought that was the moment where it told me I should be, right now I should be starting to query and thinking, looking at agents and stuff. I gave myself a timeline of a year, and then I would self-publish, because it's not that it was sort of like a secondary thing of self-publishing, but it's more like, I think I owe it to myself to, I'm going to self-publish this no matter what, but I think I owe it to myself to just see if there's
Mhm.
any agents out there that would be interested in working with me on this. And then I think it was just over 6 months that the my who the fabulous woman who's now my agent got in touch with me about it. So it was kind of a sort of slow, it felt like slow for me. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I think I had it pretty easy compared to a lot of other writer friends that I've spoken to. So I do feel very, very lucky. But at the same time, I think it's mentally tough for everyone. So I'm sure you have the similar stories to me of like being in the trenches. So I really don't envy anyone who is in the trenches right now, and I only wish them the best of luck, because it like can be really mentally rough, especially when the piece you're putting out is like a little part of yourself. So yeah, that probably wasn't the best advice, but like, be patient and good luck.
It's
You can
it's
tell I
that
have a
advice
cold.
that you
My
have to say.
brain.
It's it's that advice you have to say. We all say it, but that we know it's easier said than done.
Oh my God, yeah, it's so true. I was like bashing my head against a wall the whole time. Oh, actually, one good piece of advice um is, do not have the email, like have a separate email address for querying, and Do not have that shit on your phone, because that is something as well that I was like, I turned into a absolute nutcase. I was refreshing, even though I had like the email notifications on for that email address, so I would have seen it if it came through. I was like, I'm just going to refresh it just in case there was no signal or in case the Wi-Fi went down or something. And so I was doing that like every 30 minutes to an hour, was just constantly. And so it did get to a point where I was like, right, we have to this is ruining my life. So we have to just switch this over to the laptop. We have to keep this at home, because otherwise it will you ruin your social life and ruin your life in general. You're like, no, you're like, yes. Did you have a similar experience?
Well, I just recently had to do that where I put everything on my laptop and I have to leave my laptop at home because I was at work.
Yeah, I think it's
It's
a hassle thing.
it's so hard not to. But
Yeah,
I've actually paid attention to some of the TikToks, and I highly recommend all of the listeners to go and check out your TikTok. You've had some great querying advice, like specifics regarding how you queried and stuff. So
yeah.
everybody
Oh,
needs to go look at that.
because I felt like I wanted to. I it was actually my husband encouraged me to do that, because the I even had people who aren't in the publishing, or don't want to be in the publishing industry, were still asking me about that, and found the whole journey really interesting, because I think anyone who's not looking to get in the publishing industry is like, oh, it's kind of like a job application, but it's a very specific it's a very specific thing you're doing, like applying to be an astronaut or something. It's like, I really, like, you have to do these certain things. You couldn't part, don't do this and don't do this. And it felt like something that, even though I felt like I might have been being a bit presumptuous, because I only have my experience to go on, and I've only, I've only had one book deal, and but it felt like it seemingly did help people. So I do want to do a bit more content like that, and just do a bit more of my personal experience, because I feel like quite a few authors are too scared to put their experience out there, and quite rightly, to be fair. But I think being in the position I am, with a, stable book deal and a really lovely supportive agent who will immediately tell me to shut the fuck up if if I do something wrong. She's like, if you've done something wrong, she'll be like, delete it, delete it, delete it. So rather than being polite, but also will tell me if I'm overstepping or anything like that outside of my own experience. I think it feels really nice to be able to do something like that for people, if I can't actively, you know, say, oh, you should get this person, you get this person, because I'm not an agent. So it's sort of like, we need to do something for the writing community, because I feel like the writing community has been such a haven for me while I was querying. It seems strange to just completely abandon that community now I an author, and sort of like on the other side of it. It feels like such a shame if I have these experiences. Yeah. Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, no, everything you've said was just absolutely perfect. And that just goes to prove just what a sweet, amazing human you are. But I think it is so important for authors to share their personal journey. And I mean, that's why I'm here. But it just shows.
Same thing. Like, you're doing such a service to everybody, and all the episodes I've seen of you, it's just been so inspiring as well. Just how open and, raw and vulnerable you are. I think you're inspiring so many people to be just kind of just a lot more honest with themselves and other people. That, yeah, it can be really rough and it can be really joyous, and there's no shame in it being both of those things at the same time. I think you really capture that really well.
Thank you. I owe it to my guests, honestly. Like, but it honestly, it goes to show just how different every journey is. And if people can't find specific ways to implement somebody else's journey into theirs, they can see that, there isn't just one way to success in publication. There's so many different ways. And so thank you. I appreciate you. That was very kind of you to say. Okay. What do you wish someone had told you when you were an aspiring author, when you were just alone writing your first book? Is there something you wish somebody would have told you before you got started?
I think for me, something I wish someone else had told me is this is very specific, but using your experiences is fantastic, but up to an extent. I feel like for the launch date, my first few drafts, I really put my full self into into the book, and which I think is great because it does add realism. And I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, it's actually quite interesting reading what it was like actually working at a dating app." And then I worked with some beta readers, but you'd say they read the very curated, obviously final draft version. But when it was early in the drafting, I had quite a few people say to me, "This is too technical. This is too inside baseball." And so, if someone does not work at a dating app, they will not understand what you're talking about. And it's funny because I had a similar I didn't get feedback from a beta reader about this, but I sort of like realized I took a month off writing the book and then came back and thought, oh, this is too much of a self insert. Like, this is inspired by my experiences, but it's a bit too personal to me. And I think I had to kind of strip back myself a bit from the book and really focus on curating a character inside the world that I've experienced. So yeah, it was kind of the same feedback, but from the actual scenario and the main character. I just feel like I hadn't almost fictionalized it enough, like it was a bit too autobiographical. But I think at the same time, pulling back and then focusing on, okay, this is actually, I want people to read this. I want this to be entertainment as well as my own personal experience. I think that made the book so much stronger. Focusing on, right, okay, how is this actually going to read as a book? And I think you need to get a serious balance of those two, like the realism, and because people are still going to connect to you and your emotions and things. But yeah, it got to the point where I had my friend Charlotte was reading it, and she was like, this reads, the first three chapters of this reads like you've just come out of a meeting and written a diary, written a diary entry, and I have no idea what any of this means. And she's a doctor, so it's like, I was like, and he was like, so it's, I don't think it's like an intelligence thing or anything. It's like if someone isn't in that meeting with you, I don't think the average reader, as smart as they are, um, they haven't worked at a dating app. And so you need to focus less on explaining how the intricacies of the dating app algorithm work and focus more on the central themes and the central characters. So yeah, that took a little bit of time to learn. I think especially when you're doing like workplace romance, people can go either way on that balance. So yeah, I hope that I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's something someone should have told me when I started reading a book is because it's hard not to. You're writing like it's your
Yeah,
soul going out onto these darn pages. And so sometimes when you're so integrated in something like that, that makes sense that it would come out on paper. So I
that's
love
self
that.
as well. I think a lot of debut authors, I experienced this, like I put too much of myself on the page, and it became like there were things where it's like this is just a rant about my previous experiences. So yeah, I think it's yeah, it is a bit of self-protection as well, because if you do end up with a book deal, you then, I mean, I'm having a good time here, but then you have to then talk to people about it and constantly relive those traumas as well. So, I got to the point when it was a couple of weeks before the book came out, and I thought, right, shit, I hope I'm not going to get sued by anyone. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. Sorry. Oh, no, I think that is just fabulous advice. Now,
Don't,
my last like
that's
my
it.
last we'll say that again.
So don't get sued. That's just the
No,
advice.
yeah.
That's it. The TLDR. Try not to get sued.
Moral of the story. Love it. Okay, have you ever thought about giving up? And if so, what kept you going?
Oh, I think I kind of had the opposite scenario where I had given up for years because like I said, I did a degree in creative writing, but literally since I could read and write, I wanted to be an author. And so I did, I focused a lot on English and history and psychology and like the very essay based studies at school, and then went to university to study English language and creative writing. And when I got into my creative writing classes, and I realized all my tutors and lecturers were part-time authors, part-time teachers, and I thought, yeah, I don't want to be a teacher. I don't think I'd be a good teacher, and so I couldn't possibly be a author. Like it was kind of, I mean, through no fault of their own, but it kind of got drilled into me that it's not really a viable career, at least in the UK. And it was sort of like, right, okay, how can you apply this skill set of creative writing into marketing, social media, blog writing, journalism? And so for me, that kind of weirdly, going to university for creative writing kind of squashed that dream down a bit. And then it was only after, like I said, when I was forced to take a break for a few months from mentally just being on a hamster wheel of got to get this work done. And that's when I pick things back up, and that's the moment I thought, oh, I don't need to give up on this, and this is a childhood dream, that maybe this is the opportunity, these few months that I have, where I'm just going to be sat watching rom-coms. I might as well write one. And so yeah, I feel like I have yet to have. I'll let you know when I do that next moment of giving up. Usually it's about like draft seven of a book when I just think, oh God, I hate this. This is so boring because I've read it so many times. Maybe that's the moment when I think, right, we're giving this up. But yeah, I think I really had the reverse situation. So yeah, because I'm only 5 years into re-establishing my relationship with writing, and only 2 years into doing it professionally. And so I hope it doesn't happen again, that I end up in a scenario where I fall out of love with writing. I don't think I will, because I mean, the launch date has a lot of themes of imposter syndrome, and that's something that I felt from the end of university until like all through my professional career. That's where I felt all my imposter syndrome. And honestly, not to sound too cheesy, but it was the moment I became a professional author that was like a real, oh, this is what I'm meant to be doing. This is when the majority of my imposter syndrome kind of went away, and it was like clicking into place where I was actually meant to be. So yeah, I think hopefully when writers think they have to give up, I mean, if it's not your passion, and if you don't feel like it is, like it should feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. I think all the great writers are the ones who are like, I'm going to be doing this whether it's getting published or not, because that's kind of how I picked that up. Yeah, you're like, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think giving up, it's like, I think a lot of writers, they are so naturally talented, and I think to the having the ability to be able to write a full book is a huge feat in itself. And for me, it would be like, forgetting how to swim or forgetting how to ride a bike. I mean, I'm not very good at riding a bike, so that's a terrible. Um, I've crashed every bike I've ridden, so it's probably not a good metaphor. But it's just something that it's, yeah, it's just a natural thing that I think a lot of a lot of writers have in them. And so I would say to any writer who would be thinking about giving up, I would be asking them, well, what are you giving up? Are you giving up pursuing it professionally? Or are you giving up on yourself? Because that feels like the ultimate sort of like, for me, that would be like the betrayal of oneself, to be like, why would you stop doing this gift? Even, even for your own entertainment, because I would be writing books just to make myself laugh, rather, even if no one else would read them.
I love that so much, and it was so perfectly said. Thank you for sharing that. That is perfect. Okay, we've made it to the lighter, more rapid fire questions, but little off course of what we've been talking about outside of being an author. What is a fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Ooh, so one thing I do love doing, and it's something that I want to bring into my writing, is I love indoor violent solo sports. And I so specifically, I really like fencing and really like karate, and I did like archery for a bit as well. And it's something that in the rom-com genre doesn't really turn up very often. But yeah, I really enjoy it. I was the women's captain of my university fencing team, and so it's something that I don't get to do as often now. And I did it in London quite a bit, but yeah, I think that's something that most people wouldn't, and also just from the way I look and act, you wouldn't expect me to be like into stabbing people for sport. But the it's something that people are always quite shocked by. Yeah, that I'm like have a black belt and was a fencing captain. So yeah.
That's fantastic. You are a woman of many talents. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
appreciate it. Honestly, only ever the sport only ever really comes out nowadays when I'm drunk, or like if I'm at a bar. I always end up like teaching women in bars like how to break people's wrists. Like that's kind of the only usage it has now. Um yeah, I taught like at university, I taught like my whole dorm how to like, if anyone grabs your wrist, here's what you do: you break their wrist, you break their nose, and you kick them in the balls. And so the that's kind of how it comes out nowadays. So maybe if I go to like a book conference or something, I'll start doing that again at the at the mixer. We start bringing that up a bit more, I think, at book conventions.
I think you should, honestly. I think you should. That's amazing. Okay. Are there any out of pocket genres you would like to try your hand at writing? Like, and by out of pocket, it could be far from what you're currently writing or just truly, truly out of pocket.
I think I would honestly love. I mean, I already sort of have a small draft of this anyway, so I said I would like to do it. I have done it and I really enjoyed it. It's sort of like a historical fiction, or like gothic fiction. I just finished reading, what is it called? I can't remember what she's Aitlin Grace, Belladonna. The
Oh, yeah, yeah,
like a YA leaning. Oh, sorry, my dogs are just kicking off downstairs.
you're
It's
fine.
more like a YA leaning book, but it's like a gothic ghost story romance, and I really love those vibes. I mean, I know I wear a lot of pink and red, but ultimately I am just a British woman who loves a, derelict castle uh, at heart. And I married a Scottish Irish man. And so I think I would love to explore my writing in that, in those genres. Yeah, definitely. What about,
Love.
is there any genres that you would go into?
As of right now, since I haven't pursued anything, I'm just writing in all the genres I can.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's so great. I love that.
So we've got like gothic fantasy and then little rom-com and then super emotional adult like Nicholas Sparks. I don't know. So
I love
I'm
that.
currently doing.
I would love to read all those, a mega, like gothic rom-com that's really emotional, emotionally
Let's do it
charged.
all.
rom-com. That might be a new genre that you're like carving out for future authors.
I think so. I think I think we need to make this happen. I love it. Okay. What is your favorite trope to read or write in?
Oh, enemies to lovers for sure. Like I was thinking about this recently, and I got asked this by someone else, and I was like, right, okay, how do I shoehorn in my new book? And because that's like one night stand, meet cute, mistaken identity kind of thing. And so I was trying to think, oh, and I kind of like these, but honestly, my favorite is enemies to lovers. And I mean, in the launch date is like it's like friends to enemies to lovers. And I think that's a mini offshoot. That's my personal favorite, is like we are former friends, now enemies. That's just like crack to me. I love that so much. I love it in every genre because I really feel like at its heart, it's like mutual appreciation and respect. Like if you view someone as your enemy, you view them as a real threat and you respect them as such. I think that is like ultimately what I find sexiest.
Absolutely. I think that's a great way to explain it.
Yeah, maybe it's
Love.
from my like history of needing to fight people with swords. Maybe that is why. Like, unfortunately, this has never happened to me at like fencing club, where there's someone really hot.
Dang it.
It's like fortunately, even though I'm one of the few women that do it in any of the clubs that I'm there, it's sort of like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna find. I don't think I'm gonna find a future enemies to lovers situation here where we can sword fight and then make out in the locker room. Like it's never really actualized itself.
That's why we got to write a book about it.
No, for sure. Sure. I did see that some of my friends sent me like a fencing rom-com recently because I was saying like my agent sibling Simone Sultani, who wrote Cross the Line, we were talking about like sports because I've never really read sports romances until she like sent me hers, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm hooked now. And the especially with F1, and she said, "Oh, would you ever do a sports romance with like karate or fencing?" And I was like, I really don't know how I would end up doing that. But someone recently, I'll have to send it to you. But they did like I think it's an actor has to go to like is learning fencing for a role, has to go to like a fencing school, and it's like a female fencing instructor. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. Like, I really want to read that. So I'm doing such a bad job promoting that book for this poor author who's probably screaming at this, going, "That's me." But I'll have to find it because I desperately want to read that.
Please send it to me. That sounds amazing. Okay. What is next for you? Any teasers on future projects? We know you just released the title of your second book, but do you got anything else or any events coming up?
I'm very excited actually. I have an event with the Meet Cute Festival in the UK, which is very rapidly becoming like the biggest romance book festival in the UK, which is so exciting because I was a just get like I was a guest last year. I was just sort of wandering around trying to make friends, and then they asked me to do the main stage this year. I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Why do you want me? That's insane. I'm going to say something so out of pocket on stage. I just embarrass myself. But yeah, so I'm doing that, which is very exciting. I feel very honored to be on the main stage with some like really incredible authors. And then in terms of projects, I mean, I just handed in the first three chapters of my third book, which obviously I can't really say much about that at the moment, but I'm very excited about that. And I'm hoping that my publishers will really enjoy it. But yeah, risky business at the moment is kind of at the top of my mind now. I've just done that book three hand in because I'm sort of getting to copy edits, and we're getting to the very delicate moment where the first copies are going to start going out soon. So I feel like I'm in a very vulnerable place mentally, and I'm about to offer another piece of myself to readers, which is very much what it feels like. So yeah, I'm all about risky business at the moment. Hopefully start changing my wardrobe soon from pink and red to a new mystery color.
Stop, that's so exciting. Congratulations on all of that. You're killing it. That is so fun. Okay. Well, Annabelle, thank you so much for joining me today. This was truly such a treat. You had such amazing, inspiring words to share with the listeners and specifically me. A lot of things personally touched me. Just like your advice and stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah, that was for me. Yep, that was for me. So thank you so much. I truly appreciate you and I'm cheering you on always. You're amazing. Thank you
Well,
again.
thank you as well. I'm so excited to read your work and I wish you the best with your whole journey. Like it's been so, like I said earlier, it's been so inspiring watching you do this podcast. And I really do wish the best for you. And I'm so looking forward to be able to, talk to you when your first book is coming out and excited to see you doing these sort of opportunities as well because like you absolutely deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. Well, I'm going to go ahead and close out with the listeners, but I'd love to chat with you just for a second afterwards.
Oh,
So if you want to
cool.
stick around, thank y'all for
Absolutely.
listening.
Thank you guys.
We will see y'all Thursday. Have a good day.